Good. So my goal today is to learn about each of you and your businesses, or what you're thinking about starting, and to format this like a workshop where we can work through some of the marketing strategy. This will not all be complete by the first session by any means. That is months of work. However, we can get there started. So if you would tell me each of your names, favorite place you have traveled to, and then something about your business. So I'll start. I'm Sandi Edgar, and I teach marketing communications, business strategy, and new business development at Talent Advertising Institute just across campus. I've been in marketing for 20 years, and I'll share that story when we get to a later slide, so hang tight on that, more to come. Favorite place I have traveled to might be Iceland, because that is awesome and terrifying. It's like a roller coaster. We went in March, and it was like the worst winter weather, not this March, but a few years ago, worst winter weather week that they'd had for years. It was like nonstop blizzards, and it's just wild trying to do anything there. It's awesome. But currently, does anybody know what's happening in Iceland right now? Yeah, I'm obsessed with this volcano. There is this volcano eruption that people have been traveling to, they can walk right up to. And it's not like some big Pompeii event, it's just like a pretty well-mannered volcano for being a volcano. And the whole live stream of it on YouTube, which we may look at later just because I'm obsessed, we'll see, is amazing. It's just crazy. So let's see. My business I will also share with you in a few minutes when we talk about networking, so hang tight and I'll come back to that as well. So, we'll start.
I can start.
Okay.
Because I'm going to copy your favorite place to travel. Iceland.
Okay, wait, what's your name?
My name is Carlos Carpizo. Nice to meet you. And we drove all around the island in a week. So it was a lot of fun in the summer.
In the summer, okay.
Yes.
That's what I want to do next.
And all these different landscapes, it was awesome.
It looks like Mars. It's wild.
In some space, yes. So, and I'm for the purposes of this workshop, I'm more interested in promoting myself as an author. I published a book in December, so that's what I'm really.
What is the book about?
It's a book about the intersection of art and technology for disengaged adults to re-engage.
Well, I can talk to you about
At
that.
risk of breakings. Actually, here. It's published in both English and Spanish.
Oh, wow. I'd like to do something.
If you buy one, absolutely. I'm not selling them, but you can buy Amazon, and absolutely.
Very cool. I'll have some questions about that in a minute. Okay. Carlos, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm Edgar. Favorite place I traveled. I was just in the Bahamas. That was really cool.
Oh, lucky.
It was my first time, but it was beautiful and amazing.
Did you see the swimming pigs?
I did not, but I did swim with dolphins,
That's cool.
which was pretty cool. I didn't realize that they're like 600 pounds. I thought they were like the size of a large man, but they're monstrous.
Oh, was this the first time you've seen one?
Like up close, yeah. Like I'd been on like a boat excursion in Hawaii once where there were a bunch of them that kind of like swam by the boat, but it was far enough away that I was just like, that looks like a big dude, or the size of a large person. And I was like, no, okay, wow, these things can kill me.
That's hilarious. Awesome.
So
Okay.
that was fun. And I am working on a mobile application. And I think the analogy that I like to use is it's kind of like Waze, but for foot traffic through businesses. So it helps you plan your next outing, either individually or with a group, by showing how crowded the place is, what other sorts of events are going on, like music, ticketed events, wait times, happy hours, and kind of a single source of everything you might need. And then the businesses, surprises doesn't really exist very well out there, but the thing that through our research we determined is going to be a unique value to them is allowing them to just do flash sales based on all of that information. they're seeing, how does my business look, how do my neighbors look, you know, not just where I can stick my head out the window, but, you know, within a few miles of me, and respond to where people, what are people doing right now to try to get them to their store.
Will you be able to offer, like, you know, in ways you see, like, pop-ups for different, like, here's a Jack in the Box, do you want a detour, that type of thing, like?
Yeah, so it's like a lot of the design of the app was basically me clicking through everything on Waze
Yeah.
and then just translating that to foot traffic and connecting human with business.
Interesting. Okay, we're gonna talk more about all of these in a minute, but that's cool. What's your name?
Thanks, Kim Johnson. Favorite place I travel, I was gonna say the Thomas, but I never did. So, the Grand Canyon, I would say it's one of the top places that I visit. My business is a naturally charming with proprietary ingredients that focuses on pockets of health. That's what I'm really excited.
It was a natural what?
Control basically like natural herb.
Oh.
It's different. Unique ingredients that have been used.
I have questions about that, that's super interesting, but I'll come back to you. Okay. We'll be back.
Hi, I am Iris Johnson. My favorite place I travel is Bahamas. Love Bahamas. And my business, I am a real estate entrepreneur. I'm focusing on, right now I'm focusing on purchasing land to develop affordable housing.
Interesting. And is that specific to Dallas or?
It will be nationwide eventually, but currently right now specifically Dallas. Dallas, and I have another state. Another state. On my mind.
Okay. I have an idea about that, but we'll come back, I promise.
Hi, my name is Janika Oliver. My favorite place to travel is also between Belize and St. Lucia. Very common places.
I noticed a theme.
My business is Different Marketing Group. I'm a fractional marketing consultant, and I specialize in consumer products, companies, helping them navigate the retail environment to build and scale their brands at retail to avoid discontinuation.
Well then, Janika, would you like to co-teach? Because I think you'll be great.
Well, I worked in corporate America as a brand leader for well over 10 years. And I've been I've had my company for the last.
And so were you like on consumer side, agency side?
Consumer side,
Okay.
but I have worked with Timberland. I've worked with all of them. But yeah, the large CPG companies I'm working in the Dallas market. And I'm a Mustang mentor.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll just ask you
That
questions.
is me alone.
Ah, did you go to Fox?
I did.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. You're not excluded, so come on.
Hi, I'm Camille. My favorite place that I have traveled is to Dubai. And, oh man. Anyway, I could go down the rabbit hole, but it's great. As far as my business, I have two businesses that I'm working on right now. One is an apparel and lifestyle brand called Black Women on a Mission that focuses on, yes,
I mean,
oh, yes. And so we focus on building up driven Black women and creating community around that passion and purpose. And the second one is a retail business that I'm working on. Well, I don't know if it's retail is the right word, but a business that I'm working on with my family called Love Your Selfie, which is going to be an interactive photography museum for people to come in and take photos with different sets. And so we're working on that as well.
So will there be a physical presence that you can then digitally upload your selfies? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so it's completely physical.
Okay.
So imagine this space with just tons of interactive, that every window pane here was an interactive set that you could come take a picture.
It's kind of like Candy Tokyo.
It's exactly like that,
Yeah.
except not candy.
Yeah.
Same exact concept.
Okay.
So they're digital backgrounds.
No, they're physical
They're physical
backgrounds,
backgrounds.
not digital.
So it's gonna be in a storefront here in Dallas or something?
It'll be in Mississippi where my family lives, but we'll be in a mall.
Mississippi. Florida, Mississippi.
Oh, really? I'm from Tupelo.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew you were somewhere in the south.
Oh, yeah, the boys can't hide it.
Right there.
Okay, well, you've already pretty much excelled one of my goals for today, but we're gonna talk about that in a minute, so that's cool.
Plus 109 is reading something
That's true.
Diversity matters on every level, and I seriously mean that. So I want to talk today about marketing plans at large. By all means, we will not have time to name down an entire marketing plan, but I want to show you some overviews of what to do and what to look for. And this is something that you can take pictures of the screen with your phones if you want to have this information to work through. I want to talk about a SWOT for your businesses or one of your businesses. So we'll get there. We'll talk about the 7 P's of marketing. It seems that every year there's another P being added. It started in what?
I know 6,
3, 4.
7.
Yeah, so we're up to 7 this year, so that'll be fun. We'll talk a little bit about marketing without an agency, and you can totally chime in on any of this if you'd like to as well, but I will give you more specific information. This is a general slide when we get there, because I wanted to know where you are all at with your companies and how much experience you've had in marketing and building a business, so that'll be more tailored when we get there. And then elevator pitches, which I think are crucial to new business startups and everything we're doing, especially here. Cool? Okay. So let's get into it. And so these slides, I sort of thought I might have a larger screen, and if you can't see anything, we can scoot closer, like here. Yeah. You want to move up? You want to see? You can read it? Okay. So, these are some of the goals and elements of a marketing plan. This is not anything we will sort through all of it today, but I want to talk about a few areas of this and we'll get into it in a minute. So number 1, can you describe your business succinctly and effectively in an engaging way? And that's something we're going to practice towards the end. Number 2, do you know or have you heard of a situational analysis for your business? So we'll talk a little bit about SWOTs in a second. We're going to talk about and kind of look closer at defining your customer. We won't get too far into that. I assume, how far are each of you into your business development and launch? That would help me know which way to go with this.
Did a closed beta, and then we're reiterating based on feedback we received.
Okay, so you have a business plan in place? Ish?
Sort of, yeah.
Thinking about it? Okay. Do you have investors? And do you have other employees?
A few.
Okay. Where are you at? Let's talk about your book.
Yes, launched the book in December.
Yeah.
So I have a web page that I did just very quickly. And I'd say that I've started to reach out to some stores, distributors, book club.
Okay. Where are you at?
Stage of product regulation, required to be released in the months.
Okay. So you're sort of at the beginning stages.
Right.
Okay. That's totally great.
I like the beginning stages of our business also. As far as the business plan is concerned, we just have a pretty list of power words to select.
So you're thinking about branding. Is that what you're saying related to the power words? Okay. 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 And then let's see. Are you starting a business? You're currently working through your own business consulting, and you're how many years into this?
Consulting 5.
5. So you're pretty far down the road. Okay, that's great. And then where are you at?
I've been doing this for 7 months, so we've been making money.
You are making money?
Yeah.
Yay. That's exciting. I've never seen you on Shark Tank soon. Okay. So then I don't know that we're gonna have time to talk about market entry by any means, but that is something you need to like strategize and plan for. That's not just something that like happens without a strategy, effort, and a team behind you. Forecasting your sales, that is not my forte. I believe the gentleman before me sounded like he was a numbers guru. Maybe he could help with that. That is not me, but I love anybody who can do that well. Define your marketing budget. Do any of you have marketing budgets? Have you thought about marketing budgets? 0? Okay. So we're going to be talking a lot about organic reach, it sounds like. But that's cool. We can start with that. Integrate marketing communications. Now, do any of you have an established marketing strategy? I'm sure you probably do.
I don't know what established marketing strategy means, but I have a plan that I do.
You have a plan?
Yeah.
That's fine. So you're somewhere, you have thought and put down on paper your like go-to-market strategy, you're thinking through how to communicate the compelling benefits of your products to those people.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Identify sales channels. Have any of you thought about this? Where are you at?
Amazon and through influencers specifically in my own field.
Yep.
And partner with and use ACV reviews and users.
Yep.
All of that stuff.
So Amazon, and do you anticipate having like a Facebook, Instagram type marketplace?
No, because my ideal customer isn't.
Okay. Not there. That's great to know that.
But for me, some of my sales strategies would be Facebook, we find other investors, do the wholesaling of land or vacancy, the buyer's list that I would have already created. Like Facebook and Instagram, it's a major. Also Clubhouse.
Yeah, so Clubhouse is new. Is everyone familiar with Clubhouse? Have you heard of Clubhouse? Clubhouse is interesting. The way I would describe it is it's like a proprietary radio platform that's sort of invitation only. It has an app, it is an app just like Facebook or Instagram, but you just jump in whenever and you can join conversations with anybody involved. And what's neat, I think about it, is it sort of makes conversations with pretty famous people a little bit more realistic and approachable and equitable for regular people like me. So I've seen on the app randomly, you guys can all chime in what you've seen as well, but there's like every Saturday night there's a group that has like all of these hip-hop artists I love. I think I've seen Post Malone come through once, but if you were in that club, you can just raise your hand and have a conversation with the speakers, so you can be talking to any of these people. I feel like I saw something with Martha Stewart at one point. It's just like, yeah.
Right, I was in a room with Elon Musk.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. It's the only place you can be in a room with 4 or 5
Yes.
multi-billionaires
It
at
is,
the same time. and talk.
exactly. It's wild networking is what I would say. And for anybody launching a business or in the business field, or even just somebody who's curious about the world, if you need an invite, I will give you one in a minute. It is a really cool, interesting platform. I do think Twitter is probably copying it right now. It might be more effective because it is open platform and not invitation only right now. So anyways, it's interesting. You're overwhelmed by it?
I am, yeah. I see the utility in it,
Yeah.
and I use it. I'm in several boards, and we use it for conversations and stuff like that. We use like some ask the expert panels, and for the same reason you just noted, they're very popular, because you can popularly and all that stuff. But I need to turn off the notifications, because there is always someone that's popping up, and I see like folks that I know who are on, I'm like, what are you working? Like, how do you have time? You know, this stuff happens. And it just, to me, I mean, I can just see going down a rabbit hole, and you look up and you spend hours. I do like that it's not visual.
Yeah.
So it's much easier for me to drop in, listen to dialogue, participate if I want to, and, you know, while you're on a walk or whatever. But it is. it is to me.
Yeah, it's
Every
almost,
2 minutes,
I
I'm
would
getting
say like an interactive podcast in that way, where it isn't visual and all the other platforms are highly visual. So I think that is interesting. I don't know the longevity of that, to be honest, but like getting ready in the morning, if you listen, nobody knows what you're wearing. Or if you're working, like I listen to it like I go to podcast and see what happens. So it's interesting. So I can. And I do think there's a lot of opportunity for sales depending on the industry, because any industry is represented there, it seems at this point. Yeah. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. That's fun. Tracking your marketing activities might be difficult if you are not marketing or don't have a marketing strategy yet. So that's probably later down the road for some of you, and that's totally okay. I realize that this whole list is pretty overwhelming at first. This is one of those things where when you build a marketing plan and work through it, you just have to start at the beginning and work piece by piece, because they all interact and kind of build upon the other, honestly. Do you want to add anything?
No.
By all means, you're welcome to. And the other thing that I would say is when you really get into your marketing, and I think sales and marketing are one and the same, not one and the same, but symbiotic in that regard, it's important to evaluate your progress in marketing and then adapt, edit, refine, delete, change, pivot. Because if you set up one strategy and do not evaluate it as far as progress or adapt and edit what you're doing, you're going to be obsolete real quick. So it's important.
I will add one.
Yes.
So I often tell people that regardless of size of your company, that you should have an annual plan and you should allocate a line item for marketing. Because what tends to happen is if you don't allocate a line item for marketing, opportunities will arise that you can't take advantage of. Or you will overspend relative to the results that you get back, and you won't know it. And so it's just one of those things that what's that phrase? What you monitor are the things that you put your priorities to. And so if you don't track it and make it a priority, you won't actually get any value out of it a lot of times. And those are the folks that I work with oftentimes that are like, oh, marketing doesn't work for me. I'm like, it's a thing, like it kind of does. But what you didn't work, or the expectations you had, or you didn't track and edit and revise. So I know people are always like, oh, I want to get bigger. I'm going to have a marketing budget. Or I'm going to set aside a marketing budget. And you kind of got to do that first, even if it's small, but you know what you're working on.
Yeah, to me it's an important piece of the business strategy, the overall execution, development, because if you don't make it a priority from day one, you'll never make it a priority, like even just time-wise later. And that's not to say that, like, that's not meant to be negative, it's just a fact of like, you make time for what's a priority. In marketing, we'll talk about more in a minute as to why that matters. I feel like you would want people to find out about your app, your products, real estate, so that you can sell at the end of the day. So we'll come back to some of these topics in a minute. But I want to work through a SWOT with you. So I don't know, have you ever seen a SWOT analysis? Have you done this? Okay. And some of you who already have businesses and business plans in effect, have you conducted a SWOT analysis recently? Okay. So if you would grab a pen and paper, let's work on this. So this is going to be like the quick, high-level, fast version. And what I hope you could do is take a picture and then revisit this later. This should be part of like when you regularly evaluate your business positioning and marketing. It's one of those things you do. So strengths, what are the characteristics of your business advantage over the competitors? So your app that finds people spaces to walk through, similar to a Waze. How did Waze come to market? How did they successfully like navigate the competitive landscape of Google and Apple Maps and all that? So what can you do in that regard, and what are your strengths? Weakness, so what is a disadvantage maybe related to your competitors? Maybe it's investors, maybe it's just like upfront capital. It could be a whole variety of things, and it could also just be something like you may not have a strength in this field like marketing, so you need to think about identifying a partner or a friend who can help you with this when you launch a business. opportunity, what are ways you can potentially increase your strategy, or basically implement strategy to increase your profitability? So where are kind of gray spaces that your competitors may not play? And I have some questions related to how you figure it out in a second. And then your threats, so what could happen if you didn't do X, Y, Z as it relates to the profitability or integrity of your business. And we'll talk in a few minutes about like reputation, and as well as sort of how the other employees of your business, how they speak about and represent you, even down to processes, influences this idea. Okay, everybody with me so far? Okay. So, here are the questions to think about as it relates to your business. So, what makes your business valuable to customers? What can you do better than your competitors? And then are there features of your business that give you a unique advantage? So why don't you take a minute just to write down some thoughts related to at least one of your businesses in more than one. Just focus on the strengths right now. So focus on the strengths and answer those 3 questions as it relates to your company. Once you finish your strengths, you can move through the questions for weaknesses. We're going to use this in a few minutes related to an elevator pitch as it relates to messaging with endorsements. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about, but I think it's important to identify your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in that regard, just so that you're realistic with yourself and you understand more gray area that you can differentiate yourself. That's my personal opinion.
The strategy is
talk about in a minute with the elevator pitch. The most important aspects to finish here for right now would be the strengths and opportunities. The other 2 categories are more so for your personal kind of business plan, mindset, strategy. on for a minute. So keep this in your back pocket. We're going to segue to the 7 Ps for a moment. That way we can use all of this towards elevator pitching. So let's take a jump in a different direction. I'm going to give you the quickest overview of the 7 Ps, which could be several lectures of their own. But either way, the 7 Ps to think about now would be your product, whether it's a tangible product or a service, price, place, promotion, people, process, and physical evidence. Now, the next couple of slides have more text than I normally care to have for a presentation, but I thought maybe it would be helpful if you wanted pictures of it, you can have this information for later, but we'll come back to some of this. So your product. You all probably know quite well what your product is, but there's 3 components to think about here. So your core product thinks about the core benefits of your product purchased by others, and the keyword there is benefits. So what is the product, whether it's tangible, good, an item, or a service, what is the benefit of that product? And then what are the characteristics of your product? So that's in there, the actual product. And those attributes we probably won't get into all that today because we don't run out of time probably. And then this is deep in the weeds, but something to think about is your augmented products. So are there additional consumer-facing services built around your products? So what are other potential beneficial reasons somebody should use this walking app? Maybe they will be able to network with new people along the way by accident. Maybe they will find a great sale at their favorite shoe company. Depends how you want to use it, but in the very least, you'll be able to hopefully navigate a neighborhood quickly, right? Maybe find a restroom if you need to go after a concert or something to the effect, or find great parking for a much discounted rate at a concert venue or something. I'm just saying what I would assume could be off the top of my head. So what are additional services that might be part of your product? Pricing is a whole ball of wax. It is a you need to find a pricing expert to help you in this category. That is not me. I wish it were, but not enough hours in the day to be honest. I think pricing is a beautiful and interesting formulation of the marketing mix, and it's super important to understand where your product price falls within the competitive landscape. And the QVC motto is $1.99. But is that really true today? Not for me to say. That's not my forte. But I appreciate anybody in this room. Place. So what is the distribution point for a product? So how do your customers obtain the product, and what is the best way to reach them? To me, when I see this, I love Times Square, but I can't tell you, if I were to skim through this whole thing and then come back to it in 20 minutes, I could probably remember Kodak and Bank of America, but to me that's overwhelming. But it's pretty effective for some. It's a picture. Promotion is specifically related to marketing here. So how do you communicate your customer offerings? That's branding, messaging, positioning, all of those important things. Who is the target market and audience? What is their buying strategy? And we will talk more about that in a minute. People. So this is actually something really important that may be overlooked in a business startup, is the reputation of your product or service is highly dependent upon the people that you have working for you. Think about your customer journey. So from the first awareness point of your product or service to completion of sale or engagement of services or whatever it is, what is every interaction of that customer journey along the way? How is your brand or messaging communicated to those people? So if somebody calls with a question about your app or your land buying proposition, who's on the phone with them, and what is the training behind, what is the protocol of script to follow? Not verbatim, but what is the message, what is the tone, the voice behind those types of things. Does that make sense? So this is heavily important for training. This is where your brand reputation comes heavily into play. So I have tried for the past 2 weeks to get access to one of my clients' Facebook pages. and trying to get a hold of a human that can help me with this, because an agency that had the access went out of business and everything's gone, has been utterly infuriating. It's unbelievable. And I can't get a hold of a person, but I can send like a chat bot and give questions, and it's just really not great for me, and I don't love it. And the client's getting frustrated that it's taking too long, and I'm like, I totally get it. It's frustrating me as well. Not a great interaction. Doesn't make me a huge fan of Facebook, but it's okay. I still use it. So anyway, long story short is the reputation of your brand and the messaging is really critical to people here. And how do you train your people to work with you to speak about a product? And just to even reflect who you are at like networking events and whatever. And then back here, same thing, process. So how do your activities flow through the customer journey and all of those interaction points? These are tied together very closely. And I think one thing here to keep an eye on is consistency. Are you consistently implementing these practices? So for like new business clients, I have this really crazy rule that I try to reply to their emails within 2 hours, which people that I work with sometimes are like, what in the world? What if you're busy? I'm like, I know, but if they're new business, I want to show them I'm interested and I'm engaged and I'm here. So I have a 2-hour rule. And then working with students, if it's a weekend, I'll try to reply in 24 hours, but it's not probably happening the same day. I have like random rules like that are pretty systemized just to make sure we have consistency. And then physical evidence. This is interesting. Yes, this is super important for the service industries, but like I think about the physical proof of service. So what does the business card look like? What are the uniforms if you have people like at a physical space representing you? And this might pertain to you, Camille, like your employees at this, what do you call it? Like a selfie station, museum? Store. Okay. And are they called employees? Are they called staff? Well, yeah, you might want to think about it because that also communicates to the employees or staff or partners or whichever way you phrase it, kind of your commitment and their importance to you, but also will reflect out to the public at some point. So what are they going to be called? What do they wear? What do the badges look like? Do they have hats? Like all of those little areas you can brand and make a presence known. You look what you want to do.
No, but an example. So Target refers to all of their employees as associates, and every consumer that walks through the door is a guest.
Yes.
Very similar like to Disney's model. Get guests when you go to Disney. But it is very important because the consistency is kind of like a Chick-fil-A. It's my pleasure. You know, that's not just something that they say, it's something that they're trained to say as representative of the brand. So it does make sense.
And I think like the Chick-fil-A My Pleasure thing actually like subconsciously helps the, I don't know if they're called employees or staff, but remember like core values of the business to communicate and act accordingly that may not have been upfront otherwise. In my mind, that would be reflective at least. Yeah. So it's, I don't want to call it little things, but it is those small moments of interaction that all add up. And those are all things you can do for free largely and gain a lot of like trust. Because at the end of the day, a new business needs to gain consumer trust, right? So let's talk a little bit about marketing without an agency, how this could be applied, and then we're going to talk about elevator pitches and why that matters so much to me in this capacity. So especially for new businesses, small businesses, limited budgets, I think networking is like critical not number one, but really critical to your success. Now, it's been super difficult over the past year because face-to-face things have dried up. You can still do a lot of this online and it's coming back fortunately. So how many of you like going to networking events? 2 people. Do the others in the room find them to be intimidating? Maybe you might not consider yourself to be extroverted. Any thoughts on that?
I do, but I feel like I don't I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But once I feel the room now, I see everyone's in the same position mentally as I am, it makes me more comfortable with initiatives.
Yeah, it's intimidating going into a new group without knowing everybody. So one thing, when we get back to regular networking events, that could be helpful for you would be to take a friend, just so that you're not flying completely solo. You have someone to talk to. You don't just look lost. Even though you might be, that's totally okay. And don't forget, like, networking events are places we all feel that way, whether or not we say it out loud, honestly. Especially in, like, other cities, if you're traveling and you're at a conference. If you don't know a single person there, well, it's time to put on a performance, is what I think. So even if I don't feel up to it, I'll just go in and pretend I'm somebody else and perform my way through it, honestly. I think networking is super critical, and I'll share something about this in a second. We'll get to social media as well. Have you considered joining board of directors for various orgs within your industries?
It does look really
Well, yes.
It's networking without networking. So I consider myself selectively social.
I'm gonna use that.
With my, once I form a relationship with people, for people to believe that I am somewhat introverted, it's hard to believe because I'm transactional. Once I get to know you, but I don't do small talk, and I find oftentimes at a lot of networking, I would be the person that would meet Camille, and I would talk to Camille the whole time that I was there. Now, by the time I leave, Camille and I know quite a bit about each other, and I would much rather have one meaningful connection at an event than the people who come, and maybe it's just me, but they're doing business card exchange, and it's like speed dating, and then I'm like, what was your name again? You don't even know who I am. Or the folks that just randomly shoot you off stuff. So that kind of networking to me is labor intensive. Like I keep talking about that. I have found though that I have done far better in virtual environments with smaller group networking, like in breakout sessions, because everybody gets a turn. I can't tell you how many times I've been networking with someone and I'm talking to Camille, and then someone will come up and like, and I'm like, who are really done? And I mean, it's
like cutting in
it's
a
those
dance.
people who are like speed dating, and they're like, how many cards can I get? And it's just not meaningful. So I'd much rather, the boards have been great for me. I'm on industry boards, I meet people, Jennifer. I mean, that works much better for my style.
Yep.
So I just need to find what works for you and do that, as opposed to keep sending yourselves to these big networking events where you leave and you haven't accomplished anything.
Now, what's this a commitment? Because you're not going to join for 2 weeks to see if
It's
you
a
like
year,
it.
usually at least.
2 weeks, a year, couple of years.
Well, it needs to be something you're interested in. And so then
Yes.
I wouldn't just join a random board because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this will be a great place to meet people. But what I found for industry boards, like, I'm on the board of DFW CPG. What do I do? CPG. What am I going to CPG? Hello. I'm on the board of Women in Innovation for Dallas Startup. Who do I work with? Entrepreneurs. I mean, those are the types of things where I found my people. So, it tends to be much more symbiotic than some of these places where, the IT person is pitching me and I'm like,
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I think it's also frustrating if you leave a conversation and you feel like you just talked to like a salesperson and they didn't actually listen to or have a conversation. They just like sold something to you for however long and it was a one-way conversation. And I'm like, okay, but what do you offer to me that I don't have to pay for? Because that usually changes the conversation a little bit. But what I love about joining a board of directors, so for example, my boss wanted me to get more involved with the local advertising industry. And separately, I had a former student who was the executive director of AF Dallas, which is the American Advertising Federation. So I reached out to her and I just asked, I was like, how do I join the board of directors? And she said, luckily for you, there are positions available right now. Would you be interested? I was like, maybe. What is it? What's the commitment? What does it entail? Who serves? Blah, blah, blah. Have a conversation, I end up joining. And what's funny is I've ended up with a lot of great adult friendships from this group, just serving alongside them because it's a fulfilling thing. It's not just about doing my job or finding somebody to sell to. It's building relationships, which to me is like the crux of the whole networking conversation here. Long-term, meaningful networking relationships, really. After serving on that board for a year and a half, they named me the member of the year, gave me the like huge honor at this huge banquet, which shocked me. I was not prepared for that. And it's just been a pleasure and a joy to work alongside people who care about something that I care about, and who understand advertising and who understand why it's important and why we have to have like governmental relations, why that matters, just all of the above. And what I serve for now is the AF District 10 Education Chair. So I get to share about advertising education to District 10, which is Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. So anyways, long story short is I find the power of networking in this type of capacity with boards of directors to be really meaningful ways to build long-term relationships. Yes, it can probably benefit your sales as well, but it's, I think, a mindset of giving back before you ask for something is at least how I see it, and I feel more appreciative of others in that type of way as opposed to people just selling something to me all the time. Does that make sense? Okay.
I find that to be very important when if you go in with a mindset of who am I going to be able to help today, I think that helps a lot because it makes you more open to listening.
Yes.
And removes the pressure off of you. Or,
Yes.
How are you going to perform this? Who can I help? And then I think that's more natural.
And I like that idea because it's how can I help as opposed to what do you offer for me. It sort of makes it less selfish in a way.
But I remember the people that are helpful
Yes.
much more than the people that pitch me.
Yes.
So, like what you just said, for people who are much more willing to put themselves out there, more interested in seeing, not everyone can help you, but when they take that approach, when I had an opportunity to return that favor or facilitate an introduction, the people, I'm not going to send Sandi to someone who pitched me all day. Because then she goes, why? Do you pay me? As opposed to someone who helped me. And so I have found that that's much more effective, and it's also much more conducive with my personality. So it's much more authentic.
Yeah, authentic's a good word.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. And I think there's just something about giving back when you can before you take. But that's like a personal thought there. How many of you have mentors, business mentors? A couple of you. I would highly recommend, if you don't have one, thinking about people you know in your life that you've worked with, maybe they're family friends, who has an interesting business that's done well. It doesn't have to be related to your industry at all. And start just asking them general business questions. And leverage your mentor when you find and develop one as a relationship, as a friendship. But you can use that as well to help build your brand and your business whole day and night. And I'll give you an example. When I, started marketing 20 years ago, I worked for a neighbor. His name was Chuck. And he was just a neighbor, didn't know much about him. Started working in his office as his office manager. Quickly learned that he had like no marketing plan, even though he was a marketing grad from UT and all this other stuff. Anyways, so what happened is that he ended up training me in marketing before I even finished my college. And I started implementing a lot of those trainings for him in his business. And in exchange, he also taught me how to run his business because he trained Navy SEALs every summer and needed someone to run his business for 2 months. Like end to end, no contact, like handle it all, run. But what I got from that experience is, number one, I learned how to market for him and test out a bunch of wild experiential marketing things that I thought might work and did work. So he gave me that space to try things out that I didn't know, but also he gave me tangible business skills to run a business, which I still use to this day. So Chuck is still my mentor. He's also like my second dad now, and we are godparents to his daughter. We just went and saw him literally last week. I was on the phone with him for a couple hours yesterday. Like, we are family, we're close. We talk about business when we go fishing. We talk about his favorite rock concerts and everything in between. But that relationship, he's one of my, like, he is the longest mentor I've ever had. But that relationship is so critical for like everything that I do today. And I know it's hard if you don't have a mentor to find one, but I would say start with your family friends, and people you may have worked with previously, and at least network that way. And in the very least, if those don't work, you use social media to ask. My mentor Chuck taught me the power of asking. Like, just see what happens, because the worst thing that can happen usually is they say no. But I've gotten away with so much just by asking crazy questions about, here's the thing I want to do. Can I do this? Yes.
There are also, for small businesses, some other resources that are really helpful that I use and I recommend all the time. One is SCORE. All of these are free resources. I always get the free word resources afterward. All free resources, you are in the driver's seat as it relates to the relationship, but they are there. And most of them have tons and tons of years of experience, and they volunteer. The other is Lift Fund. They are another great resource. Also, most of them are associated with the SBA, so they come very independent, but they're great resources as well. They also give resources for financing and funding, and all. Lift Fund also has a funding part also, but those mentors are great until you can identify one that you all have a personal relationship.
And I will say,
And mostly mentors, right?
Well, yes, but I mean,
If you're
everybody knows
affiliated
about
to
that.
SMU, then mostly mentors.
And mostly mentors, yes, but in the event that you're looking for something else, those are great resources.
so I'm gonna say, so like Cox School of Business has an amazing kind of mentorship program, like relationship for current and former students. So alumni, I don't know if you've thought about reaching out to them. I met a lawyer that I needed to ask about a contract through Jennifer here at the Incubator, who's at Cox, and have had great conversations with this person. But there's also, I have to imagine, the many mentor resources at SMU. There's also, when you get involved in industry orgs, like on the boards, you can totally leverage like and build mentor relationships there as well. And a lot of times, people who are experts in this, in whatever industry, would love to have conversations and coffee and share their expertise with somebody who was interested and would listen. You'd be surprised. Like all the time. In the past year, I would say LinkedIn has been beautiful at that, because suddenly all of these executives are more available than normal, and that can happen today, right now. When you are really working through your marketing plan, I would think it would be really important, if you don't have a marketing background, to find an SEO and SEM expert to help you. So search engine optimization, search engine marketing, Google Ads and Google Analytics and AdWords, all of those are super important to getting your name and brand and awareness out, in addition to the other platforms for social media and whatnot. Those are difficult skills to try to pick up on your own, but you can do it, obviously. There's lots of courses across the street at the Continuing Ed program. I think that's one area of opportunity that you can definitely try to find a friend to do a partner exchange of some sort if you don't have money and budget for this. I have this expertise, I'll share this with you, share this with me, great good times, let's do this, that type of thing. So that's one of my specific recommendations here, and then you really need to think through your branding and messaging as it relates to your product and service. That is also kind of a little bit more of a refined skill set that I think could be utilized if you have a friend in the marketing field, or a mentor, or a Mustang mentor that would be able to help you here. But that would be really important to make sure you have brand consistency across everything you do. Do you want to add anything to that? Totally jump in, whatever. And then post on social media frequently. You don't have to pay for posts. You can do the free organic route. Hashtags, what's your feeling on hashtags? Yeah.
So I love a good hashtag, right? But they often are not used in a way that they do what they're designed to do. So hashtags have become much more conversational, like a catchphrase, or what they're intended to aggregate information, similar information. So if you hashtag correctly, the whole point is that you will join into a much bigger conversation, and your content will be shared on a much broader level. But finding the right hashtags in and of itself is an assignment. So,
Yes.
put some time into figuring out what your right hashtags are, and then use them consistently when relevant. When you're just hashtagging, hashtag winning. It's fun to say, and I love it, but that's not, it's gonna group you with all the other hashtag winning stuff, but it might not be related to content. So, I have a love-hate relationship with hashtags for my clients. And then it depends on the platform that you're on, because hashtags don't work the same on all platforms.
Yeah, and they're more appropriate for some more than others. Like, I really am torn about LinkedIn with hashtags.
You're better off, we can get into a whole nother. It helps with engaging, but you're better off tagging someone and creating dialogue and engagement than the hashtag link. So that's my.
I totally agree.
I noticed you're not on Twitter.
I am on Twitter. I am. I just don't think I have my public name out there. It's just a handle that I use for random stuff. It's not business.
Okay, it's true.
Yeah.
I'm on every platform because of my work. Page administrators for a number of clients, they don't have to be on. But I don't use Twitter. I've got tons. I don't know what they're following for. I'm not ever doing anything, and I think that the platform that you're on. I spend a lot of time talking to my clients about identifying the right platform.
Yes.
Because depending on what you are doing on social media, it will help you determine which platform you should be on. And most businesses, particular ones, don't need to be on Twitter. Product businesses don't need to be on Twitter. The only thing people are going to find about their company on Twitter is if they have a product recall, a safety issue, or something like that.
We're being canceled.
Or being canceled, or something weird like that. There's other platforms that are better. So knowing your audience will help you determine.
I will say, like, concerts and festivals, you can find a live stream almost of like what's happening at the moment, like South by Southwest. Twitter's great for that type of thing. But you can also find those hashtags like South by Southwest on Instagram and follow everything right there as well. So I do also have a loving relationship with hashtags, that's why I asked you first. It's one area though that if you have a specific product offering, like your herbal supplement, might be a great use for a hashtag, I'm thinking, on Instagram, off the top of my head.
Like search them, like don't create them. Like search the popular ones and use that.
Yes.
Then you can start tagging your unique one onto the end.
Yep.
But when it says less than 100, either you're gonna build it up or you're gonna jump on one that's already been built. And I suggest you jump on one.
And it's not just related to the product. People who use that type of product, like Martha Stewart has a whole CBD line, so go find her platform channels and see who she's interacting with, and hashtags and locations. Yes. No, I'm not kidding. That is to me.
Yes, babe.
I don't want to try to create that from scratch. I would rather really use a whole series of that works and is out there than try to populate 100,000 plus.
What's trying to do on YouTube? Is it like YouTube? Viewership, people engaged, you have to do it because I feel like
It depends. So is it like product awareness? Is it educational for your herbal supplement? Like, do you have people talking about like testimonials?
I mean, I guess that's still in the beginning stages, but I'm just thinking about like the customer acquisitions. Should it focus more so on having like a commercial ad and putting it in the video, or utilizing YouTubers in that field, like the spiritual or like the health-related industry? You know how like they have plugs in their videos, something like that.
Yeah.
Like using it as influencer marketing.
Right.
I would say though that it would really, you would need a marketing strategy to develop and get down to that channel level once you have a fully like customer persona profile and all of that worked out. I wouldn't want to give you just advice on one marketing tactic like that straight off the gate. I like the idea of it. I would need to know more.
I don't need to know more, but you also have to be prepared for the platform that you're on. So YouTube, you have to be in constant content generation mode, because much like everything else, if you post a video and people like it, you better have the next one, like ready to go. If you post a video and people don't like it, you better have the next one ready to go. I mean, it's very much, you have to keep a stream of content going, and that's what people oftentimes will fall.
In terms of being building a YouTube channel,
Not
it's
myself.
advertising.
Advertising at Bootcamp, if you are in the audience.
Okay.
That's different.
Okay, I thought you meant
Okay, I
you were
thought we were
creating
creating
for
stream.
content.
So maybe this is a dumb question, but what do you think about a website? I mean, do you have social media website, or you could do without a website and just use social media?
For a book?
Yeah, or in general. Business.
Depends on the product, depends on the offering. I'm sort of old school where I still want to see a website if it were me, more than likely, but I can't say 100%. I think it gives you credibility and at least a contact information. I want to see if I'm buying something tangible that in location, probably in the US, depending on what it is. It is such a big, loaded question. What do you think?
Oh, I was just thinking that I have seen some people, which like I spend a lot of time on social media, for better or worse. And I have seen some people with like digital products do really well without a website and just using like some third-party platform to sell whatever they're selling. But it's still a platform. It's still not like in-app sales necessarily. Like I still have not made a purchase where I like put my card information into Instagram or something, or like put it into Facebook. I've always still had to go somewhere else, even if that person hadn't made a whole website yet, but they were still using some other platform that were utilized.
I think it depends, and I think it depends on what the purpose of the site is. If it's for credibility and legitimacy, then I say put up one page, like a landing page, and leave it at that. You don't have to have 20 clicks deep and pages and all this other stuff, because it's not going to help you. For personal brands, oftentimes people will much rather direct people to their LinkedIn. And so if it's, about your experience or what you've done, if you're selling something, much like what Camille was saying, I think it does help if you have a place to direct people, particularly if you're advertising for more information, whatever it would be. But the worst thing you could do is put it up and then never update it, or the links get broken, it won't work. And so if you have to weigh the user experience with what's the point of having the website.
But I think that for the purposes of it, for instance, you want to sell a good book, I don't think having a website would be something that is imperative that you do. Because you have Amazon there, you can do some from, you can eventually get your own site where you process payments, people can buy it there, straight from your website. But it's not something you would have to do the minute you start doing sales, because
Do
you
you
can
have
sell it
a
through mail.
publisher or are you self-published?
No, we have a hybrid culture. It's me because Camille published at the same time I did.
Yeah, and I sell my book through my website too, and I like doing that one because I actually make the money off the book, but versus like Amazon making money off the book. But I haven't gone as far as with my book sales. My parents gave it to me.
One question for you, Camille. In selling the books on Amazon versus the personal website, she probably got more sales from the Amazon platform because of all the eyeballs on it.
Kinda, it just depends because it's like, okay, say something like today, right? Now 40 more people know that I have written a book than they did yesterday. And because I don't have a bunch of physical copies sitting at home and they don't know my website, they're going to go, if they go try to buy it, they're going to get to Amazon and they're going to go buy it on Amazon. Versus like if I say, hello Facebook friends and family, I have written my book and I would like for you to purchase it at this website.com, then I'm going to get it from there. So I would say It just depends on how I'm putting it out there. So like in this vein, I would say the sales will come from Amazon. Versus like if I did some conference or something where I had my book at a table, I would have a QR code with my website for people to buy it on my website. You know what I'm saying?
I think it depends because I don't know if you want to be an author for the rest of your life or what your goals are with this, but if you are aspiring to build a larger publishing footprint and get more into that world, I think the website would be important because I would want to see if I were a publisher more of like a consistent blog and feed, and I want to hear your voice about other things so I can get maybe other ideas for books for you and that type of thing, as well as maybe speaking opportunities, to be honest. So I could see it depending on what your ultimate goals are with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an idea. We are very quickly running out of time here, so what I will show you is the elevator pitch, but you can take a picture, write this down if you don't have an elevator pitch ready to go. And I have another slide which is going to give you more instructions about what this is. So the elevator pitch for you as a person and your business, the idea is that you'd be able to ride the length of an elevator up and down a building, which is around 30 seconds, to sell your product, which means you should be able to succinctly, clearly communicate what it is, the advantages of it, and why somebody should either contact you for more information or buy right away or pay for or something to the effect. So let me, and then also one thing here that's important is make sure you listen and have a conversation, especially at networking events, because that one-sided sale thing makes me crazy. It's not super fun for me. It's not very engaging. It's more about a conversation, and generally, the more you know your product and offering inside and out, you can have 3,000 different variations of an elevator pitch the same night. You probably never have a kind of stock canned pitch ready to go in the exact same format. Every time you want it to be a conversation, not just like a speech. And then this is something that would be great for you to work through at some point when you get down to this point in selling your businesses. What do you do? So who are you? What do you offer? What are the benefits? And what is the action you would like someone to walk away with? So you want them to contact you? Do you want to grab coffee? What can you help them with? Whatever it is. And I just want to preface this by saying, like, the goal is not to just be super salesy. It's to have a conversation and develop relationships, because at the end of the day, relationships are going to get you way further than one sale will ever, honestly. So I was going to have us work through all of this, but we are like several minutes out of time on this whole conversation, but that's okay. I've enjoyed our talk. Before they come back and tell us to do something else. Any other questions or conversation or things you want to talk about?
Thank you.
Well, there's a lot more to it. This is just the quickest version of this whole conversation we've had. But are there specific questions about marketing at large or marketing strategy you want to talk about?
What do you think about this idea? So one of the things I'm doing is try to grow which obviously grow like just the regular user side is to basically just like tell the businesses, hey, we can give you like $5 advertising credit for each person. You get to scan the QR code in your store and create an account with us. And to give them an incentive to get more people. They're already incentivized a little bit because the more people that are on it, the more people are going to see their ad that they put up anyway.
Give me an example of how somebody would use this app from the customer perspective.
So like it's a Friday night, you've got some friends together, you're trying to go out, but you don't know where you would go, and like maybe you want the coolest club in Dallas, or maybe you want like a more intimate place, right? And we can help you find a place that has that atmosphere right now. You know, even like bottle wine and D-Bone is usually packed, but like if it wasn't packed on a specific night, then we could tell you that.
And so you can like input different filters to get to that.
Yeah, so you can, it'll just tell you literally like to the establishment level, how packed is each place, and then you find what's important to you. And then the business owner can say, hey, you know, okay, maybe we're not the most fun party right now, but we're gonna do a $2 drink special until 10 p.m. or something to get people in the door. And then we would refresh, like the app would refresh, show that, hey, this is a fun party now.
What's in it? Or I guess, why do you believe you need to give an incentive to the establishment? The $5 incentive?
Just to get them to push it more, I guess. I mean, they could always have like a QR code to sign up or whatever, right? And again, they do have the incentive of wanting more people to see any advertisement that we put up. But I guess maybe, right, if somebody just walked into my store, I assume they're gonna buy from me, so I don't necessarily want somebody to download an app that has a coupon in it right now. I want you to pay full price. So that's maybe another reason for it is, right, like we could essentially eat that initial discount for them.
Does it serve though as a disincentive in that if I normally get $5, what is the likelihood that I'll get all of these people to sign up, you know, to like scan the QR code and to sign up, but not necessarily keep the app?
I mean, if they're getting $5, they're getting $5, right?
Yeah.
Maybe give that kind of incentive if they have so many people that signs up, and then once they get like, say, 100 signups, then they may get some kind of discount the second time around. They get accounts free. And this is mainly for business owner, right?
Yeah. I mean, like every 100
Is it
signups, you get a free
free
month
now?
or something.
I would go with the pay for performance as opposed to pay per click type, if you will, you know, pay for sign up. Pay for performance, because they're already getting the benefit of the additional traffic, and maybe that performance, maybe what you're looking for is what the incentive for performance is. It's going to drive the most engagement with them, as opposed to paying them for each one. Because I've seen enough of campaigns where people will write a program, and all of a sudden you've got 1 million of them, and you got to pay it out. And so you don't want that either. I think for the most part, people will follow the rules, and they'll get the benefit out of it. But the minute that someone sees, I get whatever the incentive is for X amount, there's now an incentive for someone to fraudulently take advantage of that. And you don't necessarily get the intended benefit.
That's true.
So-
If they really wanted to, they could send it to like a click farm in India.
Absolutely. They absolutely will. And your budget will be
Though,
out the door.
the one
and-
nice thing is, right, we can programmatically basically say like the user has to be in Dallas or they can't sign up.
I almost wonder if you could geofence it so that the user downloads it and has to arrive in that location within an hour to get the thing or something like that.
Yeah, or probably even say they have to be there when they download it, right? Like when they download it, their initial ping to location services. Is that, I mean, you have to have location services to use it. It doesn't, you literally can't function that bad. So, yeah.
I almost wonder if it would be worthwhile having a conversation with like Uber and Lyft as well as OpenTable. Like if they're taking people somewhere already and they know of a spot, like I almost wonder if that might be an interesting way to go. And then OpenTable, if you're at a restaurant and you're looking for like an after party or after dinner drink or a dance, like a dance scene, whatever, concert, if that establishment could geofence you to something.
Yeah, so I think one thing we're adding on top of OpenTable is that typically OpenTable only has 25 to 50% of a given establishment, and then the rest of the places keep for walk-ups. And so we're basically telling you what's the availability of those, of the remainder. People don't really realize that, but most places that use OpenTable don't count the restaurant. Also, OpenTable's dying relatively fast because it's outrageously priced and businesses aren't getting any from it. Yelp had about like 50% exodus of usage, and like it was around New Year's from 2019 to 2020. Everybody left the platform because their whole business model was basically we're going to strong arm you. They would take down positive reviews and like bump up the negative reviews until you gave them, and like all this. It was really pretty sketchy business practices.
I don't know, I like the idea of open source platforming as much as possible, like for Uber Eats, like Postmates and Uber and Lyft, like cut out the middleman. So I don't know exactly your entire business model and where you're at with it, but I wonder if there's a way to incentivize people utilizing those types of platforms or services to partner in that regard.
So yeah, so because we do have like a link to where you can press one button. Like so if you search restaurants, you see all these restaurants, how busy they are, you pick the one you want, and like one tap, you can open the Uber or the Lyft app, and then it'll have your destination populated. You click one more button and it's open. It sounds like you're suggesting trying to find a way to flip that in the opposite direction. So instead of us driving people or providing that as a convenience, almost find a way to leverage people who are already using Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make some money by driving people to Uber and Lyft. I do know they have some partnership programs where if you're linking people into their app, they'll give you like a commission for basically sending people to order the ride.
So the benefit to me as a customer is that I would find the type of place and atmosphere that has like space at the moment, right?
Yeah, or the opposite, or all the people, I mean,
Right, where's the scene?
like I'm gonna target SMU students, right? And that's how I came up with the idea in the first place. It's just something I wanted when I was a student.
Yeah.
Because I was tired of pre-gaming with my friends. We would walk over to bars, like right downstairs from here, or we'd take a cab and spend whatever stupid amount of money because Google wasn't anything that was literally $2 a head just to get into the cab. And then we'd show up, and sometimes we'd be like, we just rolled in 10 guys deep, and there's nobody else here. And I would always look around and be like, we all have phones. Why didn't we know that no one was here? And so we would just leave. We wouldn't buy anything in Barley House. We'd go across to Miles, or we'd go somewhere, or we'd just go back home. But if they gave us a drink discount or something, we would have stayed, or we would have shown up anyway, even if we knew that it wasn't fun yet. And we would essentially start the party, but then everybody, all the other students would come from it.
Have you ever thought about maybe tracking something that you can say they don't you don't charge them to business owners to use your software? I was thinking that if you can let them use it and try to track how successful it may be, if they pull people in based on your app, then you can maybe charge them on their own.
So actually the way that we're trying to monetize this, it's difficult from a technical perspective, but is to actually only charge the business when they, not when they post the discount, but when it gets redeemed. So if they post it and no one uses it, they don't pay us a penny. We only, kind of like you were just saying, we charge them for the performance of what they do on our platform. Just like you were saying, we should do the reverse to incentivize them to get signers, right? Charge them for what they, or pay them for us. But anyway, and then that way they can try things and they can learn what's working. And actually then my secret play is I'm collecting all that data, and I want to eventually put an AI model behind it to where I can say, hey, you don't need to actually post discounts anymore. You just pay me a monthly premium, and I will automatically show the right things to the right people. So you go every Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we don't give you discounts, right? Because you're already coming in and buying, unless they want to say a reward system, that could be their choice. But you would see burgers, and you would see salads, and you would see beers, and I would see whiskey. I'm just spitballing here, right? Everybody would see personalized things at the right time to provide the right kind of like net automated discounting
Have
system.
you thought about data? No, it's not inexpensive.
And that's
But
like
some of the things that my clients use are, there's this one, I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but basically it takes all of the purchase data from credit cards And so it wouldn't actually say your name, but it assigns an ID. I'll think of the name of it now, but we use it all the time. No, there's probably a million different ones. But basically, it already tells you, like, where people have been. And so it tracks all of your spending across everywhere. So talk about Big Brother, but it tracks all of your spending everywhere. And that helps, like, retailers that I partner with, they use that information to try to figure out how much share of wallet they get. But it collects information about where you shop. And so if you're at a restaurant, or if you're, and honestly, we use that
So
information.
why does a person agree to give that information?